to another episode of the Expat Teacher Tales. I'm your host, Sourjya Mukherjee, and I'm so happy to have you here. Now, in the last episode, I briefly spoke about who I am, how I transitioned into international teaching career, and I'm so happy to receive so many messages from all of you over different platforms asking me to share a little more in detail about how I ended up in this current role of mine. So I thought, okay, before we dive into the nitty-gritties of teaching and classroom management and stuff like that, let me just go back a bit, share a personal story with all of you, and two very, very important life lessons or career lessons, I would say, which I learned. And I'm sure that's going to be extremely helpful for all of you. So it all started in 2014, where I first joined a very reputed international school in India, Bangalore. It was a residential school, and it was my first year of teaching. So I remember when I joined the school, since being the first year teacher, I was asked to start with grade 4 to 6, the primary classes. That was fine with me because it was a platform for me to gain experience, learn, and then grow. Now, what was important at that point of time for me was to learn and gain experience and to contribute. And I was so fortunate to have one of the most humble leader that someone can ever ask for at the beginning of their teaching career. Even though it was one of the biggest international schools in the country, with so many students and so many deliverables, the vice principal of the primary section was one of the most humble person I have seen. She was warm, she welcomed me, helped me get on board, and she supported me, handheld, and taught me so many things, starting from how to design a question paper, all the way up to differentiations at that level, with so much of patience. I just can't thank her enough. She is a gem of a person. What was interesting was after a month or so, if I can recall correctly, one day she, in the middle of a conversation, she told me, and she would just call everyone as, "Hey, my son," and that's the way she would talk. So she said to me, "Son, you will go a long way." I laughed over it because I don't know what she saw in me, what made her say that, but I was super pumped up, super happy to hear it from the vice principal and wanted to prove her right. But in the whole process, one thing which I did was I learned relentlessly. I used to go into other teachers' lesson, sometimes peep from outside with their permission, of course, and learned and learned. I observed so many different lessons, so many different classes. Even after schools, I used to sit with her to learn a lot of educational theories and stuff like that. And that helped me a lot. 2016, after almost 1.5 years being in that school, I was fortunate enough to get an opportunity to move internationally. And that's when I moved to Dubai, joined as the head of department of the science department. It was a small team of 4 members, but it was a fantastic start for me. I was the youngest leader, subject head, so to speak, in the school, and that was a huge benefit for me. Reason being, I had so many experienced senior subject heads and leaders around me that I could always learn. Each one of them had their different way of leading their team. Each one of them had different way of solving problems. Each one of them had different ways of dealing with chaos. And I could kind of cherry pick what worked for me. For 4 years, I worked as the head of department in the school, and I was so fortunate, like I said, to learn from some of the best senior leadership members. Some of them, not all of them, had all the qualities. Let's be real. Some of them were super pro in academics. Some of them were fantastic in people management. Some of them were pro in organizational structures. Some of them were wonderful in managing assessment policies. Now, for me, I was so lucky to work with such a diverse professionals and educational leaders that I could pick up and learn every single day at every single instant. Now, during the course of 4 years, I was super lucky to come in contact with a veteran teacher and school inspector who taught me something so important, I cannot stress more. That's something I live with even today, and I will for the rest of my career. In a conversation, he loosely said, leadership is a verb, not a noun. Now, I was 27, 28 at that point in time, and it didn't mean much to me. To me, it was a fancy statement made by a senior educator. Fair enough. Few years down the line, when I now reflect back on that statement, it gives me an entirely different perspective of leadership, entirely different perspective of being in the education industry and who I want to be. It's absolutely right. Leadership is about what you do and not about your position. And that's why it's very, very important to walk the talk. Now, cut to 2020. We all know the world came to a stall. Fortunately for me, it didn't. I got a fantastic opportunity to move to Bali, Indonesia, the tropical island where people go for holidays, to join another international school and start as an upper school science teacher. I've always been quite an adventurous person, so I took the opportunity, went to Bali, and started off my career as an upper school science teacher, where we were dealing with Pearson edXL curriculum. It was a new curriculum for me, so again, a lot to learn. Now, things changed over a period of year, and I got a tremendous opportunity to lead the entire upper school. Now, yes, I know the upper school was a smaller number of people, but still, for me, managing the entire operation of upper school, teachers, students, timetabling, lesson allocation, day-to-day operation, exam. Oh, by the way, I even took over the role of an exam officer. Now, that was a huge, huge upgrade for myself. At that point in time, like I said, I just took the opportunity because I knew it's going to be really, really difficult, a lot of work, but I'm going to learn. So I'm not going to give up on that opportunity. I learned, and I was fortunate enough to come in contact or work with in the same office with one of the most interesting and supportive head of school. He's the one who introduced me to the fantastic world of John Hattie. And there were no looking back. He taught me the next big lesson in leadership to me. And that's a statement I think we all need to live by, irrespective of you being a leader or a teacher or in whichever capacity you are working at. And he said, it's all about people. That's it. It's all about people. It's all about relationship. I spent 3 years in Bali, and 2023, I got a fantastic opportunity to move to China mainland, where I currently am leading a team of 20 plus fantastic global educator with a lot of dynamism, lot of learning, lot of bilingual teaching and learning from each other, a basket full of professional developments, so on. And my take in these past 10 years or so in teaching, in school leadership, in my capacity, are these two statements. And I would like to reiterate those for all of you. And I'm sure all of you, at whichever level you are, whichever capacity you're working at, it will make some sense to you. And as and when time passes by, you'll draw more value out of it. Number one, leadership is a verb, not a noun. Think over it. And number two, it's all about people. It's all about relationship. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Expat Teacher Tales. I hope this story of mine will give you some encouragement to take a risk, but take onus of the risk and explore the world around you. If you found this episode interesting, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, let me know what you would like me to talk about in the next episode. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep making a difference wherever you are in the world.